I'm in the production track, and I chose that because in my undergrad I studied computer science, and so I was a programmer then. But I wasn't too hyped up on programming tools and doing all that stuff. I really wanted to use the tools myself. I want to be the guy that was going to be using them in engine and implementing new things. So I was really interested in the production track because I felt like that's what I would do, especially as like a level designer. So that's what attracted me to it. So I saw that FIEA had three different tracks, and there's a whole bunch of different kinds of people that come here with very different skill sets, and I thought that was a really good emulation of the industry and how it works. So I really wanted to get some experience with working with artists, working with programmers and other designers. So that was definitely super attractive, and I also saw past capstones that looked like full-fledged games. So I wanted something like that on my portfolio. Okay. So producer, it's kind of difficult to place a finger on it. It's not like a programmer or an artist where they generally do the same things. A producer can do a whole bunch of different things. Like we have certain producers that are management producers. They are able to lay out schedules and be able to micromanage people. And then you have producers like me who are more technical, and we like to be in engine a lot and implement new things like being able to script, which is like programming light, and then a lot of other producers like to do graphic design stuff, which is more art. But generally speaking, I would say that producer is like a designer. They're always designing, no matter what they're doing. So I knew coming to FIA, I wasn't going to have short nights. I was going to be working here a lot. Gonna be is like boot camp, but crazy, crazy hours. But I've also gotten a lot of work out of it. I've definitely learned a lot in my year out of FIA, probably more than I did in my undergrad. So that was definitely something that I wanted, and I definitely got out of it. I came into FIA being wanting to be a level designer, and I see myself more of a technical level designer. Like I like to optimize things in the level and make them run good. And on Plushie Night, we really like to have huge vistas, which are terrible on frame rate. So it was a challenge to figure out how do we get this in game, but also make it play well. So figuring out how to load up different assets at different times and make it all transition smoothly was probably my biggest challenge. But definitely, it was definitely something that helped me get over that hurdle. It's weird that Florida doesn't have seasons. Like trees don't turn colors. Being from Massachusetts, there's snow, so that was different. It's also cool being able to wear shorts in December, but being able to adjust to Orlando it's been pretty easy. It's not wildly different. It's not like going to a different country at all. It's definitely a lot more friendly. People are a lot more friendly down here than Massachusetts. Okay, so probably the most important thing to learn coming to FIA, and Rick says this a million times over, but I feel like you only learn this if you experience it, and that's that you got to keep things in scope. Like like my first RPP game that I started here, it was so overscoped, and consequently, it was not a very great game because of it. And you run into that experience several thousand times over because you're trying to figure out like what is in scope for your team and for yourself. So I would say that most of the games that were very fun to play here at FIA was because they kept them in scope and they figured out what's fun, and then you just iterate on that fun. Don't worry about anything else. Going through the whole capstone process and being able to pitch a game that you want to create and want to design. Like I pitched First Edition, which is a superhero game, and being able to go up on stage and pitch this idea that like literally hundreds of people are in the audience watching, and you're saying, "Hey, I got an idea, and this might be cool to do," and being able to entertain them while you're up there was really really fascinating because that's what I want to do. I want to be able to entertain people, and I feel like I got a taste of that doing the capstone. I feel pretty prepared, to be honest. I didn't feel prepared at all coming out of my undergrad for any job at all, because I didn't feel like my undergrad had any real work atmosphere to it at all. But here at FIEA, I definitely have that, because you run into all the experiences of working with different people, of different skill sets, different personalities. You get that here at FIEA. You get that whole managerial archetype also, so you're able to experience that. So working with big teams also is definitely a huge plus. So I definitely feel very prepared to be able to go into the industry with FIEA. Advice: learn ActionScript 3. ActionScript will give you a huge edge in first semester, and that first semester is pretty important because you're able to figure out what you're good at. And then once you figure out what you're good at, don't worry about anything else, just work on that. Don't try to strengthen your weaknesses, just work on your strength. But I would say for anybody that's not an artist, learn ActionScript. That includes producers. They should definitely learn ActionScript, probably some Python too. But yeah, just work on your strengths, don't worry about your weaknesses, and learn ActionScript.